Everyone tells you love should be fireworks, drama, intensity. They say if it doesn't hurt, it's not real. But what if that's not love at all? What if real love isn't about butterflies? It's about balance. What if the strongest love isn't found in chasing or clinging, but in choosing every single day with calm, quiet intention? The Stoics weren't cold-hearted monks who ran away from emotion. They were warriors of the mind, who understood love more deeply than we do today. They knew something powerful. You cannot control who loves you back, but you can master how you love. If you're tired of begging for attention, if you're done confusing obsession with connection, if you're ready to stop being emotionally played, then this video is your turning point. Because once you understand the Stoic approach to love, you don't just become harder to hurt. You become impossible to replace. What the Stoics really meant by love, and why we got it all wrong. When most people hear the word Stoicism, they think of stone-faced philosophers who denied all feelings, especially love. But that's a tragic misunderstanding. The Stoics weren't emotionless. They were emotionally disciplined. They didn't reject love. They refined it. While today's world chases love like it's a drug, full of highs, crashes, and codependency, the Stoics approached it like a sculptor working with marble. Carefully, intentionally, without illusions. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoics, had a simple rule: accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together. But do so with all your heart. Notice, with all your heart. Not halfway, not emotionally checked out, but at the same time, not needy or desperate either. This is the Stoic paradox. Love fully, but hold nothing too tightly. Stoicism teaches that love should never cost you your peace, your dignity, or your sense of self. If it does, it's not love, it's attachment. And those two are not the same. One grows you, the other controls you. The modern world often mistakes emotional chaos for romance. We equate being obsessed with being in love, but obsession is rooted in fear. Fear of losing, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough. That's not love. That's slavery with flowers. The Stoic way is different. It starts with mastering your own mind, so you never let love blind you, break you, or beg you. Love should be a choice, not a prison sentence dressed as passion. And in the end, the person who learns how to love without attachment becomes the strongest one in any relationship. Because when you can walk away with grace, you're the one who holds the real power. Emotional detachment isn't cold, it's clarity. Let's clear up one of the biggest misconceptions right away. Emotional detachment doesn't mean emotional denial. You don't become a Stoic by numbing yourself. You become a Stoic by seeing clearly, without letting your emotions hijack your reason. In love, that's a superpower. The Stoics understood that emotions are part of being human. They just didn't let emotions make decisions for them. So when it came to love, they never said don't feel. What they said was, feel, but don't fall. Don't fall into obsession. Don't fall into illusion. Don't fall into thinking someone else is responsible for your peace. Because once you hand someone else the keys to your happiness, you also hand them the power to destroy it. That's where emotional detachment comes in. It's not a wall, it's a window. It allows you to see the relationship for what it actually is, not what you wish it was. It gives you space between feeling and reacting. It stops you from texting back just because you're lonely. It keeps you from chasing someone who clearly isn't choosing you. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." And in love, bravery means being okay with not needing. It means showing up as a whole person, not a half waiting to be completed. That's not romantic. That's rescue fantasy. And rescue fantasies always end in disappointment. The Stoic approach is brutally honest but beautiful. You don't need anyone, but you choose to love them anyway. And that choice, when it's made freely, without clinging or fear, is the highest form of love. Because now it's not about control, or possession, or validation. It's about appreciation. It's about presence. It's about walking alongside someone, not dragging them or being dragged. Emotional detachment is also what protects you when things go wrong. Because let's face it, not every love story has a happy ending. But with the Stoic mindset, you don't fall apart. You don't beg. You don't hate. You let go. Not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself too much to hold on to something that hurts. Love, from a Stoic perspective, is like holding water in your hands. Tighten your grip too much, and you lose it. Loosen it just enough, and you can feel it, but never own it. You respect its freedom, and that's the key. Stoics love with strength, not weakness. With presence, not desperation. With freedom, not fear. Boundaries are love, not barriers. Let's get real. Most people think setting boundaries means being cold or distant. But here's what the Stoics knew long before Instagram therapy threads. Boundaries are not walls that keep people out. They are doors that show others how to treat you. And in love, that might be the most vital lesson you'll ever learn. Think of it this way. You can't control how someone else behaves, but you can always control what you allow. That's not cruelty, it's self-respect. And Stoicism is built on that exact foundation. Epictetus put it bluntly. Never depend on the admiration of others. There is no strength in it. When you don't set boundaries, you're not being kind. You're being afraid. Afraid of losing them. Afraid of confrontation. Afraid of being alone. But the Stoic doesn't fear solitude. The Stoic fears self-abandonment. Because every time you betray your own values just to keep someone around, you chip away at your identity. And love without identity? That's not intimacy. That's erosion. So what do boundaries actually look like in a Stoic relationship? It's saying, I don't tolerate disrespect, even from someone I care about. I need space when I'm overwhelmed, and I'll communicate that without guilt. If you're inconsistent with me, I'll respond with consistency toward myself by walking away. Now here's the kicker. Stoic love is firm, not forceful. You don't demand someone change. You show them who you are by what you accept and what you don't. And if they rise to meet that standard, beautiful. If they don't, you don't collapse. You calmly exit. Why? Because your peace doesn't come from their presence. It comes from your principles. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." If your thoughts are always about pleasing someone else, tiptoeing around their moods, or overgiving to stay needed, your soul starts to dim. But if your thoughts are clear, grounded, and built on truth, your love becomes stronger, not smaller. You see, real love isn't about being available 24/7 or sacrificing everything for someone who gives you breadcrumbs. It's about mutual respect, clarity, and standards. Not expectations, standards. There's a difference. Expectations say, "You must do this or I'll be upset." Standards say, "This is what I will and won't allow, and I'll act accordingly." That shift changes everything. A Stoic doesn't chase, they attract. Not through games or silence, but by being so whole, so clear, and so unshakable that only someone equally grounded can meet them at their level. So the next time you feel guilty for creating space, or nervous about asserting your needs, remember this. Boundaries are not the end of love. They are where love begins. Because only when you know your worth can you ever love someone without losing yourself. Letting go is love too, the Stoic art of release. Here's a brutal truth most people avoid in modern relationships. Not every love is meant to last, and that's not a tragedy. That's nature. The Stoics didn't just understand this, they embraced it. Because clinging to what's gone is the root of emotional suffering. And letting go, truly letting go, is one of the highest acts of love and strength you'll ever commit. Let's rewind for a second. We've all been there, holding on to someone who's drifting away, hoping, fixing, trying harder, thinking maybe, just maybe, if we say the right thing or show enough love, they'll come back. But deep down, something feels off. Your peace is slipping. Your identity is warping. And the worst part, you know it. This is where Stoicism steps in like a cold splash of truth. Marcus Aurelius said, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs?" That's not just poetic, that's liberation. Because if love is no longer serving both souls, if it's become a battlefield of resentment, confusion, or neglect, then letting it go isn't failure. It's alignment. And don't confuse detachment with numbness. Stoics don't shut off emotions. They refuse to be enslaved by them. That's the difference. They feel everything. They just don't let those feelings dictate their self-worth or choices. Imagine loving someone fully, honestly, and deeply, and still being able to say, "I release you," not because you stopped caring, but because you started caring for yourself too. In modern culture, we've romanticized suffering. We think the longer you hold on, the deeper the love. But the Stoics would tell you, the deepest love is freedom. And sometimes, that freedom means walking away with your head high, your heart open, and your dignity intact. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." How much of your time has been wasted chasing someone who's unsure about you, or replaying conversations in your head? Trying to rewrite the ending? The Stoic rewrites nothing. They accept, they learn, they let go. So what does that actually look like? It means you stop waiting for closure. You stop begging for clarity. You stop sacrificing your peace for a maybe. Instead, you say, "I gave it my best. I loved with honor. And now I choose peace." That's not bitterness. That's maturity. And maturity, real maturity, is knowing when to stay and when to surrender. And here's the magic of letting go like a Stoic. You don't just free them, you free yourself. From overthinking, from cycles, from self-doubt, from the lie that love means holding on no matter what. Because the truth is, sometimes the most loving thing you can do is release someone with grace and walk back home to yourself. Love without chaos, the Stoic power of steady presence. If today's relationships are addicted to fireworks, then Stoic love is the slow-burning hearth. Quiet, steady, reliable. It's not the thrill of will they text back? Or the anxiety of decoding mixed signals. No. The Stoics didn't chase butterflies, they chased clarity. They knew something that most people today forget. Real love isn't chaotic, it's consistent. Let's be honest, we've been conditioned to think that love has to feel like a roller coaster, that it has to hurt sometimes to be real, that passion and pain go hand in hand. But the Stoics rejected that drama. For them, love was not a storm to survive. It was a practice, a discipline, something you showed up for every single day. Marcus Aurelius didn't talk about grand romantic gestures. He talked about doing your duty with kindness and strength. And that's exactly how Stoic love works. It doesn't shout. It doesn't perform. It simply shows up with respect, integrity, and deep emotional responsibility. In fact, one of the most Stoic acts of love is to remain present even when things get boring. To choose your partner again and again, especially on the quiet days when the world isn't watching. Because to the Stoics, love was never about feelings alone. It was about values. Let me put it this way. If your relationship depends on constant emotional highs to feel alive, It's not love, it's stimulation. But if your relationship survives through quiet routines, difficult conversations, and mutual growth, then it's not just love, it's virtue in action. That's the Stoic approach. Love grounded in reality, not fantasy. And presence? Presence is everything, Epictetus said. How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself? That includes demanding presence, not just from your partner, but from yourself. When you're with someone, are you really with them? Or are you stuck in your head, comparing, doubting, overanalyzing? Stoic love invites you to show up, fully, to look someone in the eyes and actually listen, to put the phone down, to silence the mental noise, to give someone your entire self, not your fragmented attention. That's a powerful kind of love, and it's rare. It's rare because it takes emotional discipline, the kind that doesn't blame, doesn't cling, and doesn't pretend, the kind that's rooted in action, not just words, the kind that apologizes without ego, that forgives without keeping score, that asks, how can I love you better today? Not, what do I get from you? Here's what most people don't realize. When you love like a Stoic, you don't just become a better partner. You become a better human. Because love, real love, is about showing up as your highest self. Every day. Especially on the hard days. Especially when you don't feel like it. Especially when your ego tells you to walk away. And that right there is Stoic power. To love without possession. To stay without fear. To give without needing control. To be present, even when no one else knows how. So, what if everything you've been told about love was off? What if love isn't about falling, but about rising? Not about finding someone to complete you, but about becoming so whole that your love expands, not consumes? What if the greatest act of love is inner peace? Here's what the Stoics taught us, loud and clear. You are not your emotions. You are not your fears, or your past, or your desperate need to be needed. You are a rational, grounded, capable soul. One who can love without attachment, give without fear, and walk away without hate. Mastering love doesn't mean having the perfect relationship. It means showing up to love as your highest self, with virtue, presence, and emotional clarity. It means not making someone else your anchor, but being anchored in yourself. Because the truth is, love can only be as strong as the person giving it. And when that person is you, calm, principled, unshaken, love stops being something you chase. It becomes something you create, share, lead with. It becomes a reflection of your character, not your craving. So if you're struggling in love, or craving it, or losing yourself in it, ask this one Stoic question. What would love look like if I remove the ego? And then do that. Because the moment you begin to love like a Stoic, with stillness, not storm, everything changes. You stop begging for attention. You stop reacting to drama. You stop losing sleep over people who aren't even at peace with themselves. Instead, you begin to live fully, presently, and from that space you love, authentically. If this message hits something deep, don't just nod and scroll. Reflect. Practice. Start today. Send this to someone who needs it. Rewatch it when you're spiraling. And if you're ready to live and love from a higher place, subscribe now. This channel is your Stoic sanctuary. And we're just getting started. Remember, calm is power. Presence is love, and self-mastery is the path. See you in the next one.